Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I'm your host, Jed Brown, founder of Low Season Traveller, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Paul Melhus, who is the Canadian founder and CEO of an utterly wonderful organisation called Tours by Locals. Now, Tours by Locals have over 4,700 local tour guides in 190 countries throughout the world, who all provide their guests with an authentic local experience of their home destination in a way that few other tour companies can manage. What we absolutely love about the Tours by Locals concept is that they've created a platform whereby local, small, knowledgeable tour guides can promote their unique experiences all over the world via this simple portal. We think of it as the democratisation of tour guiding, and it's just wonderful. So, without further ado, let's learn more about the concept and the tours from the man himself as we welcome Mr. Paul Melhus to the Low Season Traveller podcast. Enjoy. So, Paul, you are most welcome to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. Great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and thanks for having me.
It's absolutely our pleasure. It's absolutely our pleasure. So look, we've just sort of spoken. I've spoken in the intro there a little bit about Tours by Locals, but let's hear from the man himself. Tell us a little bit, for any of our listeners out there who aren't familiar with Tours by Locals. Tell us who you guys are, what you do, and a little bit about the story about how it came about, because it's such a brilliant concept. We absolutely love it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, our Tours by Locals is a platform that's designed to connect independent travelers with independent tour guides around the world. Right now, we have about 4,500 locals who are available to give tours in, I think it's 169 different countries around the world. So, of course, we count certain places like Greenland and the Faroe Islands as countries, even though the Danish people might disagree, but there you go. So we're everywhere, and through the platform, people that are wanting to, kind of have more of a local experience can actually make a connection with the local person, arrange all of the details of the tour that they want to have through our website, and then purchase the tour. We take care of all the kind of logistics of payments and all of that sort of thing, and then all the travelers have to do is enjoy themselves. So we actually view ourselves as having two customers. For the traveler, of course, we provide a vetted source of tour guides. We have a really strong onboarding process whereby we check references. We run them through the database of criminal background, that sort of thing, World Check. And so you can, and then of course we're there if problems happen. For the guide, we give them a quality customer. In fact, one of the things that surprised me a little bit is that our guides tell us that the customer that they get through Tours by Locals is better than the one that they get through other channels. So
they're kind of more engaged and more interested in the in the real sort of history of the place and the culture of the place, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like we select for excellent travelers. They kind of self-select. So the person that would use our platform is independent. They like to plan their own travel, and they're happy to make their own hotel bookings and flights. And the tour is really the reason why people travel, the experience that you get in destination. Nobody goes to Istanbul because they love sitting in a 17-inch wide chair for 10 hours,
Yeah.
So, but we actually got our start by an experience that we had in China, and this kind of goes to the root thought about Tours by Locals, about how we can be a benefit to both the local independent guide and the traveler. It was our last day in Beijing, and we hadn't seen the Great Wall. Now, if you've been to Beijing, you'll know that there's lots of places where you can go. The one that's obvious is called Badaling, and that's close to Beijing. It's kind of the Disney version of the Great Wall. It's been really fixed up, and if you look at pictures, you'll see big parking lots for tour buses, masses of people walking on the wall following the flag, and that's never been for us. So we hired a guy to take us to a place called Simatai. It's about 2 hours out of Beijing, to a section of the wall that is the way it was when it was abandoned, in the 15th century. So but as we were walking from the parking lot to get onto the wall, we passed a group of Chinese ladies, and two of them broke off after us and followed us for a little while, and we were kind of walking around looking at things, and they walked up and introduced themselves, and they said, where are you from? Oh, Canada. Well, we love Canada, all this sort of thing. And they proceeded to give us an impromptu tour of the Great Wall. I guess we were with them for probably a couple of hours, and the stories that they had to tell were really great. They knew all the history of the wall, and what that was excellent. But we also learned a lot about their lives. They were farmers, and this was the sort of thing that they did when there was no work to be done on the farm. Because they like to help travelers, right? That was their story. But of course, we always had, we were thinking in the back of our minds, why are they doing this? What's going to be the outcome? And indeed, at the end of the 2 hours, they brought out all of their tchotchkes and books and cards and all of this stuff that we could buy from them. And, it creates an obligation. So we bought a few things, but, on the flight from Beijing, we thought about this experience and thought, how could it have been better for us and for them? Because, I think we didn't have very much money in our pocket at the time, because it was our last day. We're just hopping on the plane. So they only got about $15, and they provided more than $15 worth of value. So that's basically the idea for how Tours by Locals got its start. How could we create a platform that would provide a way for these two women to present themselves to an interested traveler like ourselves in a professional way? We take care of all of the stuff, like, nobody wants to cart around money and all of that sort of thing. So we get rid of that part of it. And there's some certainty for the guide. They know that they're going to get paid, and some certainty for the traveler that they know that this person has been vetted, and so it's makes it a better experience for everyone. Now that was in 2006, and so it took us a couple of years to flesh out all of our ideas and get the first version of the website going. And we launched in October of 2008. So that's, what are we now? 2021. So 13 years ago now. Wow. And of course, that was right after the crash. Lehman Brothers crashed the world on the 14th of September, and everything was spiraling down. But and here we are with our brand new website. So at any rate, as it turned out, that was fortuitous timing. And so over the course of 2 years, we were able to, because the travel industry was in a real tailspin, and we were able to sign up a critical mass of guides. And when the world started to heal, we were there with a credible product offering, and everything has been going extremely well for till March of 2020, and then of course everything went south, and it's now starting to recover, of course. So
yeah, it's starting to pick up. What a brilliant story! It's such a I suppose, like the best ideas, the genius is its simplicity. I just love the name of the company. I love companies, and obviously, our own company, Low Season Traveler, does what it says on the tin. It's about traveling in the low seasons. Tours by Locals does what it says on the tin. It's tours by local people. But where I think it's great as well is it's it's almost like And it's just so obvious. It's almost like sort of, Uber or Airbnb or any of these, but for tour guides. And I think it's just brilliant for all concerned. But obviously, it makes sure that that locals on the ground are benefiting from tourism, and that's often been one of the sort of criticisms, I guess, of tourism is the locals on the ground don't always sort of benefit. But I think to be guided by locals, and that's what I think more and more travelers are looking for, that, aren't they? They're looking for that deeper cultural connection with the destination that they're visiting. And there's no better way to do that than via a local tour guide, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, our travelers are really interested in that sort of thing. We're not for the kind of person who says, "Oh, tick, I've done Paris. Now I'm going to do Brussels," and
Yeah.
they're kind of. We differentiate between travelers and tourists, and we say that tourists expect the destination to adapt to their needs and wants, and travelers figure to adapt and to the place that they're going. So we're definitely for the traveler.
I love that. I
Yes.
love that. So, of the, you've got. I was just looking on your website before, which is fabulous. You have got, and you stated it at the beginning, 4,506 guides in 193
Oh,
countries. I mean,
yeah.
that's a phenomenal reach, all over the world. How many of these have you done? And are there any which sort of stand out as being really good? I know it's like choosing a favorite child, isn't it, Paul? And it's probably an unfair question, but are there any sort of tours that really sort of stand out for you as being, especially worthwhile, that our listeners should be aware of and maybe consider when they're traveling?
Well, I haven't really traveled nearly as much as I probably ought to or would like to,
Especially
and
not in the past
definitely.
year.
No, yeah, I've been well, in the past year we've been at home, and so we've pivoted to what we call live virtual tours. So we've got quite a extensive selection of those on the website, and some of those are really good. They're getting very good reviews, and but for me, it's hard. It's really hard to say. Some of the ones that stick out. Are going with we have I mean, maybe this is a little obvious, but I wouldn't have thought about it. A woman who gave us a tour of the Louvre, followed by the Musée d'Orsay, and she had quite a nice theme to her tour, where because like the Louvre, you can spend months there, sort of thing, but this was like 2 museums in a day, so it was really fast. But she was able to pick out the like the themes, linking the art of Greece and Rome with the Middle Ages. And when you go to the Louvre, you walk past 2 paintings by Leonardo da Vinci that everybody just zooms by, and they go around the corner, and then there's a huge crowd in front of this tiny little picture of painting of the Mona Lisa. But we spent time in front of those other 2 paintings, and probably I might have just breezed by them, and arguably they're even more interesting than the Mona Lisa, but they don't have as much history and story and all of that sort of thing. And then to switch over to the Dorsey Museum and see the connection between those two eras, basically, in the kind of development of art in the West, was pretty amazing. And that's the kind of thing when you get with a person who's a subject matter expert, and they can give you that deeper insight into things that you wouldn't actually you'd never come across. So that's an example of one that speaks to me. But we have lots of stories of people that there was a couple from the United States, and they adopted 2 orphans from Ethiopia, and they went back as a family, met up with one of our guides, and then were able to go and visit the places where the 2 girls were from, with their American parents. That's the kind of thing that you're never going to get on your own or on a bus with 50 other people. So we've got tons of stories like that. So yeah,
I love this as well, and I think with the the sheer the sheer number of these local guides that you've got as well. I've been to places, many places in the world where I've seen the site. So I've walked through. I'll give you a really good example. I've walked through the old town of Riga, in Latvia, and it looks absolutely fabulous. But I didn't, on this particular occasion, I was there with work, and I didn't have chance for a tour. So I didn't really have any clue as to what I was looking at. I mean, looked beautiful. But when you then go back again and you have a local tour guide, all of a sudden everything is brought to life, and you just have that greater understanding of what you're actually seeing. Like you were saying about the paintings there before in the Louvre, the two that Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci did, and people skip past them, and you sort of think, if there was somebody there who could explain to them the intricacy of these particular paintings and why they're absolutely special and why they're absolutely a deserved place in this collection, that's what brings it to life. And then that's how you learn, isn't it, as well? You're truly learning about the destination. And I think without a local guide, you just, like you said, I think you said it well, you're just seeing a destination. Like you say, it's sort of ticking, doing a tick box, I guess.
You're it's you're being a kind of a consumer, not really getting a sense of what it's like to live there. And that's why I love the idea of low season traveler, because I say a similar thing, that everybody ought to travel in February, or at least what is February for the particular place that you're going to. And it's always February somewhere. Maybe you have to take time off in the summer to be with your family, but you can still figure out a low season destination where you can, where the crowds are less, it's cost less, you're more likely, easier to interact with local people, see what it's really like, and so our values and ideas are pretty closely aligned.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. It's funny, actually, when you were talking about the example of the Louvre, I've done a keynote speech at a few events recently. Actually, one was in Zagreb last week. And one of the images which I use to highlight, about the difference between traveling in the peak season and the low season, there's a picture taken in the Louvre. And again, for our listeners out there, if you haven't been, the Mona Lisa is much smaller than you would imagine. It's not a big painting at all. But on this photograph that I've got, there's probably about 500 people in front of it. And the picture is taken from the back of the 500 people. And let me tell you, you can't see anything of the Mona Lisa. You certainly can't appreciate with any intricacy the Mona Lisa. And that's one of the pictures I always show up, and I say, is that really how you want to experience the Mona Lisa, in among all of that? Or do you want to go during a low season when you've got a better chance at least of seeing it? But it's so funny. It's so true.
Of course, there isn't a real low season for Paris. It's pretty much a year-round destination. But as you say, probably actually right now is pretty much low season anywhere you want to go. But I think we're all kind of fervently hoping that'll change at least somewhat for the better. So
how's things changing where you are? So you're on the west coast of Canada, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how's things going there at the moment? So again, for any of our listeners that aren't as familiar with the area, how are things now at this stage? So, and just for everyone's notice, we're recording this on the 27th of September, World Tourism Day, indeed. How are things at the moment now in your part of the world?
Oh, well, from a pandemic point of view, I think we're doing pretty well. We've had pretty strict lockdowns. Well, actually, maybe not nearly as strict as some places, but the pandemic didn't seem to hit us quite as hard as some areas. And we're a highly vaccinated population. Case numbers are pretty much. People get excited when they get up to 800, but we're 500 or 5 million people. So on a per capita basis, that's pretty still pretty reasonable, and the hospital system is not suffering, or is not overwhelmed at the moment. So from a travel perspective, we're happy to see that the US border is now open and we're receiving visitors from the United States. We've always been travelers from overseas can come and visit now. So things are kind of starting to get back to normal. We've got our vaccine passport system in place. So if you want to go to a restaurant or a sporting event, or some kind of non-essential activity, you need to show your pass, which it's mostly people are accepting that as a necessary thing. So we're pretty optimistic here. And of course, from a company perspective, we look on a more of a global basis, and we're starting to see a return of travel in the Northern Hemisphere. Our core customer base are Americans, and travel to Europe is really, really important. And so actually, I think October will be a sort of post-pandemic record month for actual tour deliveries. So we're looking pretty optimistically to the future. It's harder in the South, though. For some reason, well, I think the South is not opening up. So we've got almost no bookings happening below the equator. So that's a bit of a concern for us, because being a worldwide organization, when it's slow in the north, and things pick up in the south. So and try as we might, we're still having trouble getting people to go to Europe in the winter time. So but London in the winter is a brilliant place to be. So I don't know why people wouldn't want to go there. So
it's strange, isn't it? Though I was in Belfast in Northern Ireland. I brought my mother and my brother just this past week, so I was there for 3 days. And it just intrigues me. So again, it's kind of low season, end of September onwards, really. But I was just sort of remarking. First of all, we had clear blue skies, and it was about 16 degrees. This is actually really rare at any time, let alone this time of the year. And I was just remarking to my mother and brother, and I was saying, at the same time, you don't expect good weather in places like the UK and Ireland. And actually, in parts of the Northern Hemisphere, because you're not going for the weather anyway. You're going, but you don't go to Rome because you want it to be sunny weather or whatever. You're going because you want to see the Colosseum. You want to see St. Peter's Square. You want to see these incredible Roman ruins, and the culture and the food, of course, and all of that stuff is there in the winter. And therefore, I always get amazed when people want to go to Europe, and they're insisting on going in the summertime when it's when it's crowded and everything else. I'm thinking, guys, you're missing the trick. I mean, all of the culture's still there in the winter, but you pay half the price. Come on, do it. You love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's in Europe is too hot for me in the
me too.
In the summertime. Yeah. I mean, I've been to the UK, and particularly I'm thinking of Scotland, because we have an office in Glasgow for customer support. And I've been there in the summertime, and it was really nice. But we went in 2019 in February, to Inverness, and the weather was. Mostly it was really nice. I mean, it was cold, but we're from Canada, so we don't mind cold. No bad weather, just bad clothes. That's our theory. And it was magical. We had the whole place to ourselves. I don't know what it was, what Inverness is like in the summer, but it was fantastic in February. So I totally recommend doing that sort of thing.
Absolutely. But also I think places like Scotland, and even parts of of Ireland and Northern Ireland as well, they're kind of for me, that I think they're just better in the winter, because you get that in Scotland. You get that roaring open fire, have some of the traditional music, have a hot toddy, whiskey.
Yeah.
It just feels right. For me, Scotland should be cold. By the way, I feel the same way about Canada. I couldn't go to Canada, in the height of the summer, because that, for me, that's not in my head. Canada's cold. And I want to go there in the cold, and I want to wear one of those hats that comes down over my ears, and I want
Oh yeah.
to go to
Well,
full hog.
you could certainly have a lot of opportunity for that. Although, if and I'm a big proponent of travel in the north, and so I'm going to recommend that you go to the Yukon and Northwest Territories, but go later on in August. It's not going to be hot. It'll be like 15 degrees sort of thing, but it's past the mosquito season. So we drove from Whitehorse to Tuktoyaktuk a couple years ago in mid-August, and it's so beautiful. You cannot believe how stunningly gorgeous it is. And at that time, earlier in the summer, you'll get eaten alive by mosquitoes, but they've all gone by the middle of August, and the weather is still really fine. And you can go to Dawson City and have the sourdough cocktail. Actually, there's
the toe, is it? Tell our listeners about this in case they haven't heard of it.
Oh, sure. Well, actually, it's a British fellow's toe that they're using these days. Yeah. There was I forget his name, but anyways, he was there in the winter doing snowshoeing or something like that, and he stayed out too long, and he lost like 3 of his toes, and so he sent them off to the hotel that does the sourdough cocktail. Anyways, they preserve them in salt, and then you go. You buy a glass of whiskey. You go see the toe captain. He puts the toe in the petrified toe from the little salt thing in this thing. You drink it, and the word is that you have to. Oh, what is it? How does it go? Drink it fast, drink it slow. Your lips must touch the gnarly toe. And there's also a big sign there that says no chewing or swallowing. $2,500 fine, because they've lost a couple of toes there because people will eat them. No. And I guess for extra bragging rights, but you get a certificate, and it's all good. So.
That is so funny.
But anyways, that's a kind of thing. That's a Dawson City thing, and then you get on the Dempster Highway, and it's 1,100 kilometers of stunningly beautiful terrain. I think the people who designed the Dempster Highway must have been artists, because they couldn't have picked a more magical and beautiful vistas. It just seems. Anyways, it's remarkable. So.
Oh, tremendous. No, it sounds great. I'd love to. I think I'd love to try the whiskey with the toe. I don't know if I would have the gnarly toe touch my lips.
Oh yeah, no, you don't get the certificate.
Oh really? God, I'm going to have to do it then. Tremendous. But again, it's that just as you were sort of saying there as well about the mosquitoes have gone by the end of August. It's that local knowledge which is what this is all about, because locals know those places that maybe not many people on the main tourist trail are as familiar with them, but they know those kind of hidden gems that
absolutely
you're not necessarily going to even get in the guidebooks or on the websites or anything else. They know those true hidden gems, and to give you that really unique and authentic experience that you're just not going to get anywhere else, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we we encourage our tour guides to have in their back pocket 2 or 3 kind of those sort of hidden gems, because if you're going to a location, there are certain things that people they do want to see all of the kind of highlights. You can't go to Paris and not at least look at the Eiffel Tower, or take a climb up there. But you can get up the Eiffel Tower in a variety of different ways, and if you're fit, take a walk up. It's way better to the first level. There's no lineup, and then and it's cheaper, and you get some exercise. Get to see the you see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Most people just go on the main elevator and then they're up there, sort of thing. But you can walk at least to the first level, and that's a way better experience. So, but definitely the guides, you want to have something in your back pocket and be able to kind of read your customer and be able to kind of show them, the kind of something special, something a little bit unexpected, that and those are the things that are kind of memorable. It's usually this, if you think back to when you travel, it's those kind of delightful serendipitous moments that stick in your mind that you're not necessarily expecting. And so our guides are good at making sure that they've got some of those ready or at hand, depending on the person that they happen to be giving a tour to. Yeah.
Tremendous. So look, you're we sort of said you're sort of 13, well, you're over 13 years old, but really sort of since launch. Tell us, once we get out of this pandemic, hopefully sooner rather than later, what's next for Tours by Locals? Have you got any sort of plans in the pipeline, or any sort of ambitions for any enhancements or anything else that you're going to do with Tours by Locals?
Well, our message to our staff is always, we want you to be part of seeing what Tours by Locals can become. We're certainly not McDonald's, that has everything figured out, and the burger sits on the grill for 16 seconds, not 17 and not 15, and there's 3 pickles, not 1 or 2 or 4. So we are kind of inventing ourselves as we go along. We have been, I think one of the reasons for our success is that we've remained really super consistent and focused on the idea of, it's all private tours. That's what we sell. We don't do group tours at all. The idea that the guide is the guide. So, every guide is responsible for, the tours that they want to offer and their profile on the platform. We don't, edit their tour offerings so that they sound like they're written by some marketing shill. We're always trying to keep the voice of the guide, but we do have certain standards in terms of managing expectations and being very upfront about what you can and cannot do. So I think those are part of the reason why we've been successful. This kind of bloody-minded focus on, this is what we are about. We're not about flights or hotels or anything like that. Well, sometimes if you're on a safari, we will provide accommodation because it's impossible for you to organize those on your own. But nobody needs us to help book a hotel in Paris. There's lots of things that you can use to solve that problem. So we've been relentlessly focused on those kind of core principles. We try to be fair for both the guide and the traveler. And, so for example, maybe you're on a cruise ship and you're going into the port of Ushuaia in the southern tip of Argentina there. The weather is often bad. Sometimes the ship can't dock. So we will give a refund to the traveler, and it'll probably be in their account because we know that the ship isn't going to dock pretty much as soon as the traveler knows. And so our staff will issue a refund for the tour that they're going to have, and then we'll take care of the guide because sometimes they have to spend hire a car or something like that, so they're never left out of pocket. So we kind of try to keep that sense of fairness on both sides and make it kind of lower the risk for all of this kind of travel for both parties. Now, as far as the future is concerned, one of the things, of course, that we had to do during the pandemic was this idea of live virtual tours. Yes. And those have proven to be quite well, we couldn't do anything else, of course, for a while, but I think there is a life after post-pandemic for these live virtual tours, and we're putting together a business plan about exactly how we want to offer those as part of our product offering. There's definitely three kind of markets. There's a kind of a home or individual market. For example, we've got some nursing care facilities that every second Thursday in the morning they have a tour around the world. So they put our guides up on the big television screen.
Wow.
And they do a walking tour of Lisbon or something like that.
Very
The
cool.
residents can interact with the guide and ask questions, and maybe even remember when they were there 20 or 30 years ago. So that's a really
I love that.
oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And or maybe a distributed family, it's wintertime, you want something to do, grandkids, grandparents, you're maybe not necessarily all together, but you can go on a little trip to Iguazu Falls with one of our guides. That would be
How wonderfully educational as well. Great for, I'd love to. I've been to Iguazu Falls myself and my wife, but our kids have never been. I'd love to show them, where we were, and for them to hear about the falls and all of that kind of stuff. Wonderfully educational, which travel is. Travel is, it is an education, and it makes you more worldly wise. I think I get it on the virtual tourism. I absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, the educational system is another area that we've identified as one that would really work. And I use the example of when you're studying the Second World War, our guide can take you to the D-Day beaches. If you're an American high school class, you can go to Omaha Beach and see where they came ashore, and the German gun emplacements, and look at it from both sides, and then take a short drive to the American cemetery, and way more impactful than it would be reading about it in a book, or even looking at a video about the subject. And just being able to interact with the guide and ask questions, and there's something different about it, and it really it's got an impact that is way better than, well, it's different than watching a video about it. It's
absolutely
more real, I think.
I think so. Well, listen, we're just about out of time, but before you do go, obviously everybody can find out more, and hey, they can book their own tour by going on toursbylocals.com. You're also on social media, and they can follow you to learn more about what new tours are coming online as well. And what we'll do is we'll post up all of the links along through on the show notes, so everybody can follow that. But I would urge everybody listening to go on the website, and as I've been doing recently, and having a little dream, because there are some amazing tours on there. And I'll certainly be booking one at some point in the low season, of course.
Yes, indeed.
And the shore excursion planner as well. It's absolutely fabulous. Huge respect to you, Paul, for what you guys have done. I genuinely think it's absolutely wonderful. It sits absolutely perfectly with our whole ethos. I think it's appropriate that we're recording this on World Tourism Day, when we're trying to be more considerate and responsible as travelers, and trying to get across the fact that it is more about engaging with the local communities in each place that we travel to. And you said it just right, rather than just being pure consumers. It's about sort of having it a little bit two-way, and that's absolutely what you guys do. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and I hope that you will join us again on Low Season Traveller Insider Guides to talk a little bit more in the future about the virtual tours, because I think that would probably warrant a whole new episode as well.
Indeed. Great. Well, thank you very much, and have a we're hoping for a much better 2022.
Here's hoping, Paul.
We thought this would all be over in the fall of 2020, but here we are in 2021. So, but it'll end, better days ahead.
And you know what hasn't changed is we all want to travel still. So,
absolutely.
And I don't think that will change. Paul,
no,
thanks a million. Have a wonderful week, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Huge thanks again to Paul for taking the time to share his company story and offering with us today. And if you'd like to find out more and indeed book your own tour with a local, then please visit toursbylocals.com. Next week, we head over to the teardrop of the Indian Ocean as we learn all about the natural paradise island of Sri Lanka in the low season months, of course. It should be a great episode, so please do join us for this one. But that's our show for this week. Thanks as always for your company. Have a great week wherever you are. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep your travel dreams alive, and don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and social networks. Finally, remember that travel is always better and fairer for the planet, the local communities, and you, the travellers, when it's without the crowds.